Okay, technical difficulty seems to be reasonably well taken care of. I'm a command line guy, so the way I start KiCad is I type, KiCad. You need to, if you've got a project, you should specify a project. I'm going to fire this thing up without a project and show you what you get when you get nothing. Okay. Okay. This is KiCad. This is really just a launcher screen. I'm going to make it a little smaller here if I can, so it's, there we go. And basically it shows you what's available, various file types. And the schematic, it has a suffix of .sch. Okay, sorry, this application doesn't let me change font sizes, so that's a little small. And then the actual board is has a .brd suffix, and CMP is a mapping between schematic part names and the board. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click on, because I have a schematic already built into this directory, I'm going to click on it and bring it up. I double clicked, I probably shouldn't have done that. So there it is. Okay. Now, the most important thing to learn about KiCad is how to move around on the screen. And KiCad is not laptop friendly. I'm very sorry to say this. If you don't have a mouse with a scroll wheel, it's going to be really hard. So I'm going to stand in front of here. This is a really important component to the KiCad, is using the scroll wheel. It's just basically how we move around on the screen. Okay. So the way it works is if you want to zoom in on something, let's go zoom in on this section over here. You move your cursor over the section, and then you hit your scroll wheel. It'll either zoom in or zoom out. And what it does is it'll take that, after one notch on your scroll wheel, it will zoom in a notch or zoom out a notch, but it will recenter your mouse in the middle. So now I can zoom in like that. If I don't like it, which I know, I want to reset it, I can zoom out a little and then zoom back in, like that. Okay. Now my new mouse doesn't have the detent, so sometimes I'll zoom in 2 or zoom out 2 when I really only wanted to do 1. Now all of this stuff is done using, they just draw lines. So I'm going to zoom in a little closer. Let's zoom in on this hole here. And it's basically, they just draw lines and arcs. Okay. All the characters are lines. Everything is a line. Circles, lines, it's all little short arcs. This is not super sophisticated stuff. You'll also see this grid here. Things line up on the grid. So, I really wanted to focus in on this panning thing. You can also use the scroll bars down here to move back and forth and up and down. But you'll find it's very tedious to do that all the time. So what you really want to do is use, do panning, the pan zoom method on this thing. It's not obvious, but it's really important. Okay, now this is schematics. Okay, and this is really what I most want people to do. At the website, I have a link to a Git repository that if you download, you will get this template. Okay. I should probably bring up a browser. Do I have a browser around here somewhere? Yeah, there's a browser. Let me resize it. Let's just quickly go to the website. Not that one. That way. So it's called PCB class. That one. Oh, why do that to me? Okay, so here it is, and you'll see something that's, the link is broken. I'm sorry about the broken link, folks, but I typed it all out. So if you go to this website, that's the GitHub website that you want to go to. That one.
The github.com/William LPC.
Yeah. LPC, you know, whatever. And if you don't know much about GitHub, come to Danny's class tomorrow, and he'll teach you a little bit more about it. Okay? But the bottom line is you want to use this URL, and you want to do something called a git clone on this URL. Okay? So let me go back to KiCad. So KiCad is, well, first off, an electrical board is basically a bunch of components wired together. The printed circuit board is the wires. It's a wiring harness. Okay, that's what a printed circuit board is. We like to represent the board as a bunch of things hooked together with wires. So the lines correspond to wires, and the other things correspond to components. So these funny looking things are capacitors. That's a crystal right there. That's the microcontroller, and it's got 80 pins. Okay. And right there, that's a resistor. Okay. You'll see something here called a mounting hole. I always put my mounting holes on the schematic because they are in fact electrically, you can connect to your mounting holes. I don't as a rule, but they are an electrical device. In addition, they're usually the first thing you put on your board is your mounting holes, because if you don't do that, you regret it. Okay. We have something called a Maxim, I think 3051. Let's see, I can't read that. Max 3051. And this is a voltage regulator. I think it's made from ST Microelectronics. And that's an L7833 AC. Okay. And then the other things that were going on here are, this is a connector, and this is another connector, and that pretty much covers it.
So
okay.
How do you pick the parts? So you need to be an electrical engineer to...
You do, but for example, for this class, you can start from here, and so I've done a lot of the hard work here, and then you can add some components. Like, you know, the homework for the end of this class is we're going to add a resistor and a diode to blink, so we can add a blinking LED here. It's the most basic project you can do, and anybody can do it because, you know, you're basically adding 3 wires. Okay, so.
So where's the library of parts?
Okay, we're coming to that. Okay, so parts management in KiCad is not the greatest. Okay, and I've talked to enough members, people who've used other programs, that they basically all say the same thing. Their parts libraries aren't great. Nonetheless, KiCad's parts library is probably in worse shape than something like Altium or Eagle. So the way you get a new part is you click on this little thing here, and it puts you in part mode. And then you click somewhere on your screen, and it comes up and says, what do you want? So, if you have a good idea of what it is you're looking for, you can type in the name. Usually we just go list all. Okay, this lists the various groupings of parts out there. Okay. I'll do that separately. Okay. We'll work through with you. And I don't find their names to be all that interesting. So let's go for trying to figure out the one where they put the resistors. I think it's device. We'll give it a try.
Would be linear.
Yeah, I think they did put so. Let's see. Okay, let's do a diode. Maybe they have an LED. Do they have an LED? Yeah, they do. So we want to add an LED. So we click on LED, and we hit OK. And so now you can't see it very well, but it has an LED underneath there. And when I click again, it left the LED. Now it's really small, so we're going to zoom in on it. So I'm zooming in on it, and yes, that's what an LED looks like. It has a diode, and it's got these little things there that mean that it emits light. It's got 2 pins. It's got pin 1 and pin 2. They aren't all, sometimes they're not numbered. Sometimes they've got letters like A and C for anode and cathode. It depends upon the part. And then it has something called a reference. And this is double E speak. We always reference all our parts on our board with like a letter followed by a number. Okay. So diodes always start with a D, and we put a number after it. Resistors start with an R. Capacitors start with a C. Transistors start with a Q. Nobody knows why. Integrated circuits start with a U. Again, nobody really knows why. You get the idea. Okay. Connectors start with an N because the letter N shows up in the word connector, and C was already used by capacitor. You get the idea. So that's called the reference, okay, and it's got a question mark after it because there's a tool in KiCad to automatically fill in all your references with a number, okay. And then the other thing is it's got this other thing which is your value, okay, and you can change this to be the part number. So I can go click on it. Oops, I think I want to hit cancel there. So, and this is where you go use your right button, okay, and you bring up a property, and KiCad uses the right button a lot, okay, so get used to it, okay, and if I want to edit the value of this thing, I go edit value, and we can, if we had a special part number like, you know, DOD 123-456, let's just hypothesize that's a part number. We click OK, and now we've got the part number for our thing. So we've got a reference and a part number. I want to emphasize this with KiCad. You want to use both the mouse and the keyboard accelerators. You try and do everything with the mouse, your mouse hand is going to get very tired. So you will see accelerators on these. So you'll see all these accelerator letters there. Learn how to use them, okay? So if I wanted to edit the value, I can just, let me hit cancel, go over there, and I'm going to type the letter V. And it's the same thing. Learn to use your keyboard when you're working with KiCad. You're going to be much more productive. Okay. So the other thing we want to do is you want to be able to draw wires. Wires are over here with the green thing. So we click on the wire, and we're just going to draw. Let's see. I just hit the escape key. Whenever you make a mistake, escape brings you back to where you wanted to be. Okay? So, we can draw a line. So why isn't it doing it to me? Works there. Okay. Okay. So it does right angle lines, folks. It's really easy and convenient. I usually stop on one of these grid points. You click again, and it'll drag around. You get where you want it. Click again, drag around, click again, and then click on the end point. Done.
Short circuit.
You say, yeah, well, whatever.
Perpetual motion.
Okay, and then let's add another wire, and go up here, and over here, and over here. This kind of meaningless. The reason why I did that is it will automatically add those little round dots, which basically means the wire is connected. Now sometimes you need to add your own little dot, and that's what's over here. So you go there, and you can add dots. The way you delete things is you can either use the mouse. I just right-clicked on the mouse, and there I am, and I can select the junction, and it gives me a list of options I can do with the junction. I can delete it. So that's one way. The delete key is also the alternative to mousing up the delete menu. Okay. Now I don't want to get too deep in all this. I just wanted to show you how that all works. Okay. I want to show you one other thing, which is you can make a copy of an existing component. Okay, so you can, I right mouse button there, I hit copy, and now I've got an extra copy of that. And that is the way, if you've already got one component that's what you need on the board, just make a copy and start editing it. Okay? So, the homework is to get KiCad up and to bring up this template, and what we want you to do is we want you to add a resistor and a diode to any one of these pins on the microcontroller. Okay? You see this little X there? This X corresponds to that, and it is a deletable thing. So when you hook up to one of these pins, you use you can delete the little X and hook up to it. X means no connection. Okay? And so when we're all done with our project, I always X off all the pins. So let's hypothesize you want to use this pin. You click on no connect and you delete it. Okay, now it's available. So that's the goal, is to add a resistor and a diode and a ground. Okay, and how do you make a ground? Anybody got a guess? We select it and we make a copy. Where'd the copy go? We copy it. And there you go. Okay? So, as I say, I'm not trying to go into all the nooks and crannies of this thing at this point in time. I just want to get people started. So I intend to show up earlier next time so that people who are having problems can do this. So I'm going to shut off the lecture here. We've gone a little longer than I wanted to do on this. So I'm saying sayonara.